Welcome to our Friday morning trading session, the end of another work week. All right, let me share my chart with you. The market's just opened up. And you can see that yesterday, what a day. A lot of sideways trading, got that big rally prior to the close, and then in the dying minutes of the day, the market made a rather substantial reversal. And then the overnight, the Asian session, the European session, just a whole lot of chop. So the market's opening up more or less where they left off. I think technically they finished the day at 47.20 and a quarter. That was the closing price. So a very teeny tiny opening gap. I suspect that we're going to see a little bit of a sideways day. This should be very obvious to you that the market is in a sideways trading range at the moment. So we'll try not to get too crazy. Gold prices, speaking of crazy, making a monster move through the overnight and out of the North American Open. Just a huge move out of the gold market. Eagle didn't flash a signal here, which is odd, but we did get a signal on the Falcon and the Hawk and the Raptor, so that's why we have different tools. When the market conditions aren't just right in one, well, you know they're going to be right in the others, or at least one of the others. So we'll just have to give them a few minutes here to settle in. Crude oil prices continuing to slide. That, I have to admit, is a little bit of a surprise. Crude now down to $41 a barrel. And here is the Eagle, and you can see we're producing a green bar sell signal. This current bar, there you go, is the bar that flips over the ATR, so you could look to short below that bar. Can I cover it up there? Doggone crude oil. So expensive. Can I cover it here? No, I can't do that either. How tight do I have to make this trade to get a trade on? Oh, gosh. That's not a lot of room. So I'm going to try to catch this with a limit order. The other thing you can do is you can allow this bar to retreat as it's doing now, and now enter your trade just below this bar. I don't mind entering a little bit earlier. This is even a signal you could have taken on the hash mark, given that we have the support right down here. So there's a possible crude oil trade if crude oil prices continue to slide during the North American session, although it seems like most of the moves in crude have been occurring during the overnights, which is a little unusual. So that crude oil trade just a touch on the tight side. Still trying to get a handle here on the NASDAQ. As I mentioned, we have what seems to be a pretty obvious trading range, so I'm a little leery of any buy signal that's coming our way. And I think I would much rather try to go with a sell signal. Was that our retest? Is this now a soft edge sell signal? What you could do here on the NQ is, I hate taking a signal right on the hard edge. Let's see if we get a proper bounce. The hawk is going to be an easier signal to take, because the hawk has produced a first micro-macro cross signal. No, that's not a first micro-macro cross signal, Eric. That's a red bar buy. Oh gosh, can you tell it's Friday? Now the red bar buy is a signal that we can buy with trend, or we can also short the failure. Or you can look at the failure of the red bar buy as an early warning that the trend may be reversing. Oh, will they give me a second here to change this around so I can get half on as a runner? There we go. So I noticed I was able to take two contracts. I'm going to try to take profit on one and run out the other. And we've also produced a trend change signal here in the Falcon. So a few things looking a little bit more bearish here on the Falcon. We can even do the second push signal, namely we allow the signal to engage. We look for the prices to retreat a little bit, and then we look for that renewed momentum to bring us in. So we're loading up here a little bit to the short side. We'll see if in fact the market does try to get down to the bottom end of the trading range today, which would be where, Eric? Well, let's see. We have our initial support line here at 47.18 3/4. After that, we're down to 47.10.50, and that should be close to the bottom end of this trading range. All right, so we took profit on part of our position here on the hawk. We've hit our profit objective. We're at the break-even point now with our remaining stops. And now we're looking for the sellers to give us a little bit of follow-through on that. No. Oh well. First micro-macro cross signal now. This one a little bit tougher to frame. I would maybe suggest entering below the low just so that I could run a slightly tighter stop. Taking it on the hash mark is okay too, but I would probably have to run my stop way here above the highs. No clear indication yet of who is actually in control of this market. This next bar that's forming should give us a pretty good idea. Oh, there they go. They're slipping a little higher. Still the first micro-macro cross signal. Now, of course, it's retreating a little bit. May even get into that macro line. Don't tell me this is going to be another one of these. The market goes straight down, market goes straight up. So our first micro-macro cross signal now canceled, voided because of those yellow bars. And I'm not real happy about the break of that trend line because that's suggesting the market's a little bit more bullish than it's letting on. Wow, the gold market just bleeding to the short side now. So we had that enormous run up out of the open. They've topped, and now it looks like they're going to take it all back. My gold chart is on the alternate tick size, so if your gold chart doesn't look exactly like this, don't worry about it. In fact, the default tick size will probably give you a signal here. Probably part of the reason the signal hasn't printed is because I am on the alternate tick setting. I just have a chart on the alternate settings because in case somebody asks for the E-mini or soybeans or something like that, I will have a chart ready for them. Oh, thanks, Keith. Yes, I didn't realize I was still on August Gold. I'd better change that. Yes, August Gold contract is stale. I need to be getting into a more current month. I'm going to, Keith says he's trading December, which is the nice thing about the precious metals, gold and silver. You can already be in the December contract if you like. I may just flip over into October for now. And I'd better save that before I forget. Okay, done. All right, so we took a near perfect bounce off of the primary support line. Looking for the sellers to step back into this market. Don't tell me that that is all the effort they could make. Come on, sellers, where'd you go? Nope, that's it. They're going to run me right out. You stinkers. Doggone it. All right, last chance for the sellers, and they stepped in none too soon. I thought for sure they were going to slip the high by a tick or two, just enough to tag me, and then decide to show up. Not out of the woods yet, though. It's going to be a green bar through here somewhere because technically the Falcon is now trying to produce a trend change buy signal, isn't it? So we're going to get this kind of thing going on. We're going to get a green bar, we're probably going to get a red bar, maybe even get a couple of green bars, but then we need to see some red bars and the market try to push lower. Once I see that renewed commitment to the short side, well, then I can start rolling my stops with a little bit more confidence. But right now, the trend line's starting to get very wavy. Just back and forth. The hawk, of course, all these clusters of yellow bars, you should be thinking, uh-oh, trading range. And you would be right. The Raptor, oddly enough, might be producing a soft edge sell signal now, right here. Signal just engaged. So I'll throw that one on. Not a trade I would get overly excited about. Honestly, this morning I haven't seen any trade that is really enticing. I guess this one's as good as any as far as today's session goes. So I'm just going to try to run it out, see if we can't get down toward at least the low of the morning. Down here, 47.18-ish. And what was I looking at before? Around 47.13, 14, I think. That would make a very nice target. And then, of course, we have yesterday's lows. Also in that same neighborhood. So the whole point of the test of the extreme, you hear me talk about it time and again. It's a pretty important concept. It's the first clue that market momentum may be shifting. So here's the extreme. In this case, it's the high. And right now, the buyers, or pardon me, yes, the buyers are unable to recover the uptrend. So the sellers have taken control, pushed the market lower. Therefore, we're going to assume that the sellers are now in control. But look at what happened as we get toward this low. The whole thing starts to unwind. And now at this moment, this is the extreme down here, and the buyers are overwhelming the sellers, aren't they? So hence the sideways trading. So we tried to short. They didn't follow through on the short side. Here comes the trend change attempt by the bears here on the Falcon. Come on, give me a green bar and then I'll know I can, or pardon me, a red bar and then I'll know I can roll that. You can see here is this morning's range just perfectly sideways. Oh well, we'll just leave that alone for now. I think I'm being really good not forcing the trade. Trying really hard to be conservative with my stops. No, they're going to turn around and spank me here in a second. Shoot. So what's so characteristic about a trading range? People always asking, how can I tell when I'm entering a period of chop? Because of course, the best thing to do is stay out of chop. Well, for starters, you're going to get these alternating swings. Swing up, swing down, swing up, swing down, swing up. What's next? Swing down. Another dead giveaway is that the market tends to trade within itself. You're no longer making higher highs or higher or lower lows. So you don't have, well, I guess I got to go back here a little ways to find when the market was actually trending. But you see how we have this nice progression. Higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. And then the market reverses on itself. We get the test of the extreme right here. And now we start making lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows until the whole thing reverses on itself again. And you get the idea. That doesn't happen when the market is moving sideways. When the market's moving sideways, this is what we get. So once it approaches the bottom end of the trading range, the buyers are going to get more aggressive. I should do something with my trade here now. I should try to manage this a little better. There we go. So we'll bring our stops in a little bit. So now it's up to the sellers. Do the sellers have control? I don't know. However, if they breach this low, there's a very good chance they will have control, at least for a few minutes before we see the buyers perhaps start to get a little bit more aggressive. Now you see this bar here with this tiny little wick. If you were getting kind of anxious on the trade, you could roll above there. No, parabolics aren't there yet. That's funny. You could manually roll your trade there. You could use the bar high-low perhaps. That would leave your stop just above there. And look at this, all the buying activity now. The market trying to breach this 47.18 3/4 area, and the price is just not letting it. So we're going to go with the bar high-low strategy, or I'm going to go with the bar high-low. And that's all I'm prepared to give them. I'll give them the $50 or $60 if I'm wrong. Otherwise, come on down. This is the point I believe it's okay to start squeezing your trade a little. And if you're really nervous about the trade, well then just take it to break even. You do have that opportunity. Or just take the profit. That's also an option. Okay, that's low enough. I'll force the trade to break even. And if it fails on this bar, well, it fails on that bar. Same thing with our Eagle trade here on crude oil. This is taking a very long time. We've been sitting on this bar for like a half an hour. I think it's pretty safe to take this trade to a break-even type situation. Or, once again, there's $100 in profit sitting there. Nothing wrong with that. Don't be greedy. And in that case, I mean greedy in a bad way. Usually, like Gordon Gekko so famously said in the movie Wall Street, greed is good. Well, greed is good if you have a plan. If you have a reason why you are managing your trade the way you are, maybe you have a bigger profit objective. Maybe you think, a lot of traders, here's something we can talk about because there's not much else going on. A lot of traders will do what they call, what do they call them? Measured moves or something to that effect. So they'll look at a trade like this and they'll say, all right, there's kind of like the last rally. And what they'll do is they'll reverse it. So they'll say, okay, the market broke there, and they'll look for a profit objective down here, which coincidentally is also where we were looking, isn't it? Now, some people will be even, I guess I can't. Oh, maybe I can. Some people will be even more, can't do that. Some people will be even more aggressive and will double that target. That's how you get all these things like 2-to-1 reward risk ratios and that sort of thing. So it looks like it's going to be a fairly quiet day, so why don't we demonstrate this? Why don't we swing for the fences here today? And we will go down for double the profit target. Now, I'm not going to milk it right to the very end. I think that would be silly. But maybe, I like 7s. Let's go 47.07. That sounds pretty good, doesn't it? So that's going to be our profit target based on this little hiccup in here. So we'll just leave the trade at break even for now. If we ride out this swing, that's where we're going to go. We're going to try to get that trade down to 47.07. Well, they're going to tag me here in a sec. So again, So I was looking at 47.07. The profit objective actually down here somewhere near our secondary support line at 47.02. But that's of course assuming that the market's going to break down and head lower. But that's how some traders do it as well. So, you know, you got traders looking at the markets from all kinds of vantage points. One is not necessarily better than the other. It's not like it's a secret formula or anything. If it were, I wouldn't know about it. All right, so here's another first micro-macro cross near the bottom end of the trading range. Ooh, that one bolted. We could try to get in there. So a very late entry on this one, but we're still kind of trying to hop on board that signal. We would have hit our high probability target at this point and at the very least had our trade at break even. Looks like we're going to tap the break even stop there in a second. What did I say we're looking for? 47.02. And I was going to get out around 47.07. Providing we can ride out this swing. So the entry here on the hash mark would have been much more desirable, unfortunately. I showed up a little bit late. Don't bounce too high now. The Raptor also producing a cloud crossover approximately the same time. This would have been worth trying, the cloud crossover, one of your high probability signals. Same thing with the first micro-macro cross. You know, if you're debating, should I take the signal, shouldn't I take the signal? Listen, if it's a high probability signal and you can afford the risk, you take the trade. If the trade does not work out, which is rare on our high probability signals, but if the trade does not work out, at least you know you didn't risk more than you could afford to lose, right? That's what the trade manager does for you. All right, let's see about running some stops now. We'll go with the parabolics, I think. Oops, got to enable those. We're almost down to 07. And I'm going to throw a profit order in. Although I think it's going to go to 02. I really do. They've got some commitment here now on the seller's part. Looks like the buyers are heading for the hills. So the buyers may choose to start buying back here around this 02 area, 47.02, which is our support line, our secondary support line. And it was yesterday's primary support, or very close to yesterday's primary support. And I do think we hit it yesterday, did we not? Yeah, there we go. So hit it just before the market closed. So that makes it a viable target for today. Well, somebody's putting the brakes on. We've lost some of that earlier momentum. Speaking of lack of momentum, crude oil still waffling on that same bar. Parabolic's now bringing us down above this bar right here with this little bit of a wick to it. That seems like a pretty good spot to be. The width of these candles is not what I want to see. It's showing me some early buying going on. So we may end up getting tapped. Come on, bears. Ah, stinkers. Well, at least we took profit on the trade. It's not all bad. Just couldn't ride out that little swing. A reaction there to the secondary support on our support and resistance suite. The market did move two zones, I guess. 1, 2. Just getting a little excited there. So, good follow through. The Eagle actually producing a rule of 3 signal, but almost impossible to see while it was printing because of all this sidewaysness that preceded it. In hindsight, you could say, oh look, there's 1, there's 2, there's 3. We had our retest of the high, and then the market went down. Not so easy to see real time though. Again, the rule of 3 being a counter-trend signal means there has to be a trend preceding it. And you can see even where we are here now at 47.10, that's very familiar territory to the buyers. So we just managed to drift to the bottom end of the trading range, really. Well, we're just kind of on hold right now. Something looking like a macro pullback here. I guess it depends whether you think the sellers have got more in it. It is a macro pullback, but I'm hoping it gets into yellow bars so I don't need to actually make a decision about it. Good. Into yellow bars. Don't need to deal with it now. Possible with trend signal building here on the Eagle. I'm not getting too excited about any of these, as you can tell, or as you can probably tell. Might be. Robert says, Eric, isn't that like a dead bounce that we're seeing in the market? It could be. The thing that's holding me back is that we're still in the sideways range. Let's see if we get a second push on this signal. So the signal just tripped. Let's see if we get the market retreating a little bit on this signal. Come on, a little bit more. Get up there. Come on. Get up there. All right, so now this bearish bar has gone kind of bullish, so I feel a little better about shorting below there now that we've seen a shift in momentum, and I know there has to be some renewed momentum in order to bring me into this trade. For those of you unfamiliar with the term dead bounce, it goes back to a dead cat bounce, which, yeah, it's a thing. It usually occurs when the market makes a very quick decline. And I forget who was the trader who first said it, but what happens is the market makes a steep decline, hops up, and then continues lower. And the trader who first coined the phrase said that that looks like a dead cat bouncing off of the floor. Hence, dead cat bounce. But I'm not sure that this morning's decline has been that strong. I know it looks like it, but it also looks like a sideways trading range. So what happens in the sideways trading range? Well, you get the buyers buying down here. You get the sellers selling up here. So as a seller, I don't necessarily want to be short from down here, do I? Because this is where the buyers tend to show up. See, when we had this soft edge sell signal, that was a little bit easier to take because we were in the top portion of this trading range. We had a pretty good idea the market was at least going to head down and test the bottom end. Now, I'm certainly not saying the market is not capable of going lower. It is, and likewise, it's just as capable of taking out the highs here at 47.31 and continuing higher today as well. But right now it still smacks of a trading range. So we've had a retest of the low. We'll see if we come back here with a buy signal. That would be a soft edge buy on the Raptor. There it is. So there's the soft edge buy signal, and stops should go in below the lows. Why? Well, this is where you know for certain, yeah, I'm wrong about this trade. Time to get out. Get out of Dodge. When the market's moving sideways as well, a lot of times you're better off just taking your profit when you have it. I'm being a little brazen here, if you will, trying to run the trade out some. We're probably not going to get big moves higher or lower today. Come on, let's go. Giddy up. There we go. Come on. Well, they're taking their time, but they're trying. Come on. Get up there. Don't make me use the magic mouse. So this is sort of a double pullback now. And again, this is very characteristic of sideways markets, right? You're just going to not get any follow through. So we're getting a double pullback, a possible sell signal. Again, I don't think I'd take it immediately on the hash mark. I'd wait for the second push. My stops have already rolled below here. I'm okay with that, because if this double pullback signal follows through, well, then we're going to see the market try to head lower. Come on, buyers. looks like the trading is pretty much ground to a standstill. There they go. Come on, get up there. Okay, so you could even roll your stops up here now if you're getting a little bit anxious on the trade, or perhaps move to a different stop strategy. Maybe go with the ATR. Big obstacle here now, of course. These highs at 47.20. If we can get above those. There we go. Come on, let's get a little follow through. All right, they're trying, they're pressing. Robert's asking, why did you put on a long position there? Because of this signal right here. This is our soft edge buy signal, one of our high probability signals in the Raptor. The soft edge buy must always be preceded by a test of the extreme. In this case, the extreme is the low. Right, so the market goes down, comes up, comes down, gives us the retest of the low, then comes back with a buy signal. That is our soft edge buy. Oh, Robert's asking, no, Eric, that's not my question. You put on a long position before the arrows got there. Well, what I did was I manually entered the trade. So when this hash mark printed, the market was already through the hash mark, so I hit the buy market button. The arrow will only print once the bar closes. The arrow does not print when the hash mark is engaged, only once that bar closes. So I saw visually that the hash mark had, or that the signal had already been engaged, so I just entered with a buy market order. Robert's saying yes. Well, it did on this bar here just a second ago. All right. Well, here, let's see. Don't wait for the arrow. Simple as that. The arrow should only print when the bar actually closes, but don't wait for the arrow. If you have a signal and you see the signal engage, that's all you need. If you're looking to use your Trailblazer and hit your buy or sell market buttons, that's all you need. And in fact, I'm going to take this trade to break even now. There we go. And that's all it's going to get. We're into the hard edge again. It's floundering a little bit. We're getting a little bit of this bear flag type flavor to it. I just don't feel like giving them much more. And, you know, as before, there's, well, it's only $25 there, but that'll, you know, pay for some commissions and whatnot. Well, there we go. Well, I hope you're right. Robert says, my other indicator says there's a train coming. Well, let's see. Let's see whether or not they actually follow through here. Again, trading range mentality, right? Trading range, they're going to start selling up here. They're going to start buying down here. So I can probably even go to parabolics now. Parabolics being pretty good about protecting open profit when you have it. See, it doesn't allow for too much of a reversal. And note how the market's starting to slow as we get into this upper area, upper end of the trading range. Come on, don't stop now. Come on, get up there. So we'll just nurse this trade a little bit longer. Then I think we're going to probably close things up for the morning. Nice to see a little bit of follow through. Come on, don't stop. Robert's asking, Eric, on my initial balance lines, I have a yellow vertical line that doesn't show up on the market opening time. It's 30 minutes afterwards. Can you explain this to me? Well, let me see. I'm not going to mess around with this trade. Okay, good time to point this out. Listen, folks, if you are in a trade, do not touch the chart. Do not refresh the chart. Do not open up your indicators. Do not tweak the chart. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Time and again, we will get owners writing us saying, I was in this trade and I decided to look at my this, that, or other thing, and then I came back and my trade was gone. Don't fiddle with your charts when you're in a trade. Fiddle with a different chart. So let me bring over the YM. And so these are the initial balance lines that you see. This is a standalone or a system add-on, if you will. It's a secondary indicator. All right, so Robert's saying, I have a yellow vertical line. Well, let's see. Is there a yellow vertical line? Visual, yellow, 100%. What does that do? Color 100% of the lines. Hide vertical line. There you go. You probably have that turned to false. Yep, there you go. So all that does is highlight the opening range for you. So there's the market open. There's 30 minutes later where the market was at. The reason they have that feature is a lot of traders believe that the market will reverse on itself an hour after the open. Let's see if there's another example here. probably won't have any good examples because the market's been so choppy of late. Well, this one's not bad. This one reversed a few minutes later. But yeah, that's a belief that some traders have, is that the market will reverse on itself after that first hour of trading. So to get rid of that, just hide vertical line, true, and no more yellow lines. Not that it's necessarily a bad thing. All right, folks, so we didn't make a huge profit today, but we did manage to squeak a few dollars out of the market, given its sidewaysness. I would expect more of the same actually going into the close. So if you're going to hang around and trade this afternoon, I think you should look for the market to fail as it gets to the top end, and possibly look to buy or for buy signals as it gets toward the bottom end. Or do what most traders seem to be doing, given the rather slow progression that we're seeing here. I think we've got a few traders taking an early weekend, which sounds like an excellent idea. A reminder, we do not have a trading room this Monday. I am not available this Monday. I will see you again on Tuesday. So I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I'll talk to you guys then. Bye for now.